You step into your poultry yard on a clear, golden morning. The sun is just beginning to rise above the trees, and for a moment, you stop to admire the flock in front of you. These birds are among the finest you have ever raised. Their feathers are clean, rich in color, and shaped exactly as the breed standard demands. Every detail reflects years of patient selection, careful pairing, and disciplined breeding. Looking at them, you feel the quiet pride of someone who has worked hard to build a line that appears strong, uniform, and nearly perfect. Then you enter the incubator room, and that sense of satisfaction disappears. The numbers are falling, and the warning signs are becoming impossible to ignore. Chicks no longer break through their shells with the same strength and urgency you once saw. Some never hatch at all. Others emerge weak, cold, undersized, and barely able to stand. Out in the laying pens, collecting eggs is no longer a dependable part of the daily routine. One day the nests seem productive, and the next they are nearly empty. The income you worked so hard to protect, along with your goal of building a more independent and sustainable farm, begins slipping away right before your eyes. Welcome back to Farmyard Care, where we share practical knowledge to help you raise healthier animals and build a stronger, more productive homestead. Today, we are looking closely at a problem many serious breeders fail to recognize until the damage is already well underway: the hidden cost of breeding too tightly for appearance and uniformity. We are going to examine your flock like experienced livestock detectives. We will look beneath the feathers and beyond the show ring qualities to understand what may be happening inside the birds themselves, their genetics, metabolism, reproductive system, and overall biological strength. Why are your chicks becoming smaller at hatch? Why are your hens producing fewer eggs? And how can a flock that looks so impressive on the outside reach a point where its performance begins to collapse from within? Most importantly, this will not be a discussion filled with problems and no practical solution. By the end, you will have a clear, step-by-step approach for bringing fresh strength back into your breeding line. We will discuss how to improve hatchability, rebuild chick vigor, and stabilize egg production without carelessly throwing away the appearance, traits, and years of selection you have invested in. So pour yourself a warm cup of coffee, settle in, and let us uncover the quiet threat that may be weakening your flock before it causes even greater damage. Part 1. The Trap of the Closed Loop. Why elite breeding collapses. To understand why a flock can look exceptional, yet perform so poorly, we have to look beneath the feathers and examine what is happening at the cellular and genetic level. Let us begin with one of the most important tools used by serious poultry breeders: closed line breeding. Whether you are refining the clean barred pattern of a heritage Plymouth Rock or preserving the heavy frame and strong bone structure of a Rhode Island Red, breeding within a carefully selected family can help fix valuable traits. It allows you to build a uniform flock in which each generation more closely matches the appearance and qualities you are trying to preserve. In the beginning, the results can be remarkable. The birds become increasingly consistent, and it may feel as though you have gained complete control over the genetics of your flock. But nature keeps an exact account. Genetic isolation always comes with a hidden cost, especially when a closed population is pushed beyond its safe limits for too many generations. Think of your flock's gene pool as a reservoir filled with biological diversity. Every time close relatives are paired generation after generation, that reservoir becomes smaller. Within this narrowing genetic circle, something both fascinating and dangerous begins to happen. Harmful recessive genes, which are normally hidden by healthy dominant versions, are increasingly likely to meet an identical copy. Once that happens, those defects are no longer concealed. They can become active and begin showing themselves in the health, growth, fertility, and survival of your birds. It is much like invisible rust spreading inside a powerful engine. From the outside, the machine may still look polished and impressive, but internally, its most important parts are gradually weakening. The question is no longer whether the flock will eventually lose performance, but when the buildup of these hidden genetic weaknesses will begin reducing productivity. This decline is known as inbreeding depression, and it can quietly consume the profitability and long-term strength of a poultry operation. Have you ever wondered why diversity is so common in nature? Why do many wild animals use distance, social behavior, and competition to avoid mating with close relatives? Genetic diversity gives a population more options. It helps animals cope with disease, environmental changes, nutritional stress, and other challenges. When we breed too closely for too long, we gradually remove that protection. So how can you tell when close breeding has gone too far? The first warning often appears inside the incubator. Part 2. Alarm #1. The tragedy in the incubator. Many inexperienced breeders expect genetic decline to announce itself through an obvious deformity, such as severely crooked legs or a visibly abnormal chick. In reality, the earliest signs are usually far more subtle and often much more costly. The first systems to weaken are commonly the ones responsible for basic biological function. One of the earliest alarms appears in the warm, dark environment of the incubator as increased late embryonic mortality. Imagine that you have managed the incubation process carefully. The forced air incubator has remained close to 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity has been monitored. Ventilation has been adjusted as the embryos developed, and the eggs have reached the critical lockdown period between days 18 and 21. At this stage, you expect the incubator to fill with movement, tapping, and the sound of vigorous chicks beginning to hatch. Instead, you open the machine and find silence. When the unhatched eggs are examined, some contain chicks that appear completely developed. Their feathers are formed, their bodies look normal, and they seem ready to hatch, yet they died before escaping the shell. Naturally, the first reaction is to blame the equipment. Perhaps the humidity dropped, maybe the ventilation was inadequate. You may purchase new sensors, adjust the temperature, or change the incubation program in an attempt to correct the problem. Those factors must always be checked, because poor incubation can certainly cause late embryo losses. But when the equipment has been stable and the same pattern continues across multiple hatches, the answer may not be visible on a temperature or humidity display. The embryo may have reached the final stage without enough biological vigor to complete the exhausting hatching process. Bird embryos cannot regulate their own temperature. Their development and metabolic activity depend heavily on the heat supplied by the incubator. Yet breaking through an eggshell requires more than correct temperature. A chick must have sufficient energy reserves, healthy muscles, properly developed organs, and enough overall vigor to pip internally, begin breathing, rotate inside the shell, and finally break free. Chicks produced from a severely weakened genetic line may appear structurally complete, but still lack the strength needed to finish this process. They have developed the visible parts of the body, yet their internal systems may not be robust enough to carry them through the final hours before hatch. That is one of the hardest lessons in poultry breeding. An animal can look nearly perfect and still be biologically weak. And when the chicks that do hatch begin growing, a second warning may soon become visible. Part 3. Alarm #2. The shrinking flock. The second biological warning is a gradual reduction in body weight, frame, and overall size across successive generations. A careful breeder who keeps reliable records may begin noticing a quiet but troubling pattern. At the same age, young birds no longer feel as solid in the hand as their ancestors did. Their bodies are narrower, their frames are lighter, and they fail to reach the weights that earlier generations achieved under similar conditions. This is not simply a matter of one bird being slightly smaller than another. It is a measurable decline in the physical structure and developmental performance of the entire line. In quantitative genetics, this type of change can appear as a steady downward trend as the inbreeding coefficient rises. With each generation of close breeding, losses in growth may accumulate. Even a small decline that seems unimportant in one season can become substantial after several generations. This gradual loss of size is sometimes described as silent dwarfing. It slowly undermines the utility and production standards that a breeder has worked for years to establish. The financial damage becomes even more serious when feed efficiency begins to decline. These smaller and weaker birds may continue eating nearly the same daily ration as stronger birds. Their appetite does not necessarily decrease, but their ability to convert nutrients into healthy muscle, bone, feathers, and organs may become less efficient. That means you continue paying for high-quality feed, yet the flock produces less body mass and less useful performance in return. Every bag of feed costs the same, but the biological return on that investment becomes smaller. For a farm that depends on efficient growth and predictable production, this is a serious warning. A sustainable poultry system requires animals that can turn feed, water, shelter, and daily care into strong bodies, healthy offspring, and dependable output. When that biological conversion begins breaking down, the foundation of the operation weakens with it. This is the practical economics of inbreeding depression. The birds may still look attractive, but they cost more to maintain while producing less value. And the same hidden weakness that affects growth can also disturb the reproductive rhythm of the hens. Part 4. Alarm Flashed 3. The Endocrine Roller Coaster. The third warning appears directly in the nesting boxes, where it strikes the financial heart of the poultry operation. Unstable and unpredictable egg production. Under normal conditions, a healthy hen from a vigorous line follows a reasonably steady reproductive rhythm. After reaching maturity, she builds toward her laying peak and continues producing with a level of persistence that allows the keeper to plan feed use, egg sales, hatching schedules, and replacement stock. But when repeated close breeding has reduced the functional strength of the flock, that dependable rhythm begins to break apart. Egg production becomes erratic. One week, the nesting boxes may hold an encouraging number of clean, well-formed eggs. You begin to believe the problem has passed. Then, without an obvious change in management, production drops sharply the following week. This leaves many keepers searching for an explanation. The flock may already be receiving 14 to 16 hours of daily light. Biosecurity may be well managed. The hens may be eating a balanced commercial layer ration with adequate protein, energy, vitamins, and minerals. So why does production remain unstable? The answer may lie in the bird's internal resource balance. Egg production is not the hen's first biological priority. Before she can consistently produce eggs, her body must have enough energy and nutrients to support maintenance, temperature regulation, immune function, movement, tissue repair, and general survival. The liver plays an essential role in preparing the materials used to form the egg yolk, including vitellogenin and very low-density lipoproteins. However, these reproductive resources are produced effectively only when the hen's basic nutritional and metabolic needs have already been met. In a genetically weakened bird, daily maintenance may require a larger share of available energy. Poor metabolic efficiency means the hen must spend more resources simply maintaining normal body function. As a result, less energy remains available for consistent reproduction. Her body responds by slowing or interrupting the laying cycle. Production rises when conditions are favorable, then falls again when the bird cannot maintain the necessary biological investment. The result is a frustrating roller coaster of brief peaks, followed by sudden declines. When this pattern continues despite proper lighting, sound nutrition, parasite control, and good flock management, the breeder must consider whether the problem goes deeper than the feed trough or the light timer. The laying curve may be revealing a loss of genetic and physiological stability. The final warning is often the most painful of all, because it appears during the first fragile days of a chick's life. Part 5. Alarms #4. The Fragile Fortresses. The fourth major warning in a genetically closed poultry line is an increase in early chick mortality, particularly during the first 14 days after hatch. This is a critical period. A newly hatched chick must leave the protected environment of the egg and adapt to a world filled with temperature changes, moisture, dust, bedding organisms, and constant exposure to microorganisms. A vigorous chick from a genetically diverse line begins life with a more adaptable biological defense system. It is better prepared to respond to environmental stress and develop the immune protection needed for survival. A severely inbred chick may begin life with far less resilience. Even small management challenges can become serious. A brief draft, a temporary reduction in brooder temperature, damp bedding, crowding, or ordinary exposure to microorganisms may be enough to destabilize a chick that lacks adequate biological strength. The keeper then becomes trapped in an exhausting cycle. More time and money are spent providing electrolytes, vitamins, supplemental heat, special feed, and individual care. Some chicks recover, but others continue fading despite every effort. At this point, an important feature of poultry genetics must also be understood: the ZW sex chromosome system. In mammals, females usually carry 2 X chromosomes, while males carry 1 X and 1 Y. In birds, the pattern is reversed. Female birds carry 1 Z chromosome and 1 W chromosome, while males carry 2 Z chromosomes. This difference matters when a harmful trait is carried on the Z chromosome. A female chick receives her only Z chromosome from her father. Because she does not have a second Z chromosome, she may lack another copy of the gene capable of masking a harmful recessive variant carried on that chromosome. If the father passes such a defect to his daughter, the effect may be expressed more readily. Depending on the gene involved, the result could include abnormal development, weak feathering, reduced vigor, poor performance, or early mortality. A rooster, by comparison, carries 2 Z chromosomes. In some cases, a healthy gene on one Z chromosome may conceal a harmful recessive version on the other. This allows the male to appear completely normal while carrying the defect silently. That rooster may be large, well-feathered, and visually impressive. Yet beneath that excellent appearance, he may continue passing a harmful genetic trait to his daughters and later generations. In this way, one beautiful male can quietly spread weakness throughout an entire breeding program. It is a powerful reminder that appearance alone can never confirm breeding value. A truly valuable rooster must be judged not only by his body, color, and breed type, but also by the health, growth, fertility, and survival of the offspring he produces. So how do we interrupt this cycle without losing the years of careful selection already invested in the flock? The answer begins with a controlled genetic rescue, not random crossing. Part 6. The genetic rescue, the male advantage, and the reproductive test cross. If your flock is showing all 4 warning signs, poor hatchability, smaller offspring, unstable egg production, and rising chick mortality, then waiting will only allow the damage to spread. At this point, you need a deliberate genetic rescue plan based on controlled mating, accurate records, and careful observation. But do not buy random birds from auctions, online listings, or unknown breeders and release them directly into your main pens. That is not controlled breeding. It is gambling with years of selection and may introduce disease, poor fertility, weak temperament, or hidden recessive defects. The goal is not simply to add new blood. The goal is to restore vigor without losing the appearance, structure, productivity, and breed character you have already built. The best starting point is usually one carefully selected, unrelated rooster. A high-quality male can influence the flock much faster than a newly introduced hen. One hen produces only a limited number of hatching eggs in a season, so her genetic contribution spreads slowly. One strong rooster, however, can breed several of your best hens and sire dozens or even hundreds of chicks in a year. He becomes a fast, targeted way to bring fresh diversity into the flock while keeping your proven maternal families. Still, a handsome rooster is not automatically a safe rooster. Bright eyes, strong legs, a broad chest, and rich feather color cannot reveal every harmful gene hidden beneath the surface. A male may look flawless, while quietly passing weakness to his daughters and granddaughters. That is why reproductive biosecurity matters. Never release a new rooster directly into the core breeding flock. First, keep him in a separate quarantine pen and watch for illness, parasites, poor fertility, abnormal behavior, or structural weakness. After he passes the health check, place him in a controlled reproductive test pen. Pair him with a small group of mature, highly proven hens. These should be dependable females with a clear history of producing healthy, correctly formed, vigorous chicks. Because the hens are already proven, any repeated problem in the offspring becomes easier to trace. The chicks from this mating form your F1 test generation. Record fertility, embryo survival, hatch timing, hatch weight, deformities, growth rate, feed use, feather quality, and survival through the first weeks. What you want to see is a clear return of vigor, stronger hatching, alert chicks, better early growth, even development, and lower mortality during the first 14 days. They should reach target weights more efficiently under the same feed and brooder conditions. If repeated defects appear, such as crossed beaks, severe crooked toes, weak feathering, low fertility, or unusual early death, the test has failed, and that male should not enter the main program. But if the offspring remain healthy, vigorous, and productive, the rooster has proven his breeding value. Once fresh strength has been restored, the next task is preserving it for future generations without constantly buying new birds. Part 7. Operational Mastery, the clan or spiral mating system. Once the health and vigor of your breeding stock have been confirmed, it is time to move from emergency correction to long-term flock management. For a small farm, one of the most practical methods is the clan mating system, also called spiral mating. The idea is simple. Divide the flock into separate maternal clans, keep the hens in their own clan, and rotate the breeding males in one fixed direction. This system reduces close matings without requiring a complicated pedigree for every bird. Begin by dividing the flock into 3 clans. You may call them Clan A, Clan B, and Clan C, or use colors such as red, green, and blue. Every bird must be permanently identified with clear, consistent leg bands or another reliable method. Now remember the 2 rules that make the system work. Rule number 1. Every chick belongs to the clan of its mother. Both male and female offspring receive the mother's clan identity, and replacement pullets remain in that maternal clan. Rule number 2. Breeding males rotate to the next clan in one fixed direction during each new breeding cycle. The hens stay where they are. Only the selected young roosters move. In year 1, establish the 3 clans and create your baseline. The red rooster breeds the red hens. The green rooster breeds the green hens. And the blue rooster breeds the blue hens. Every chick is marked according to its mother's clan. Record fertility, hatchability, growth, health, body structure, egg production, and defects. In year 2, remove the original breeding males and select the best young rooster from each clan. The red male moves to the green hens, the green male to the blue hens, and the blue male to the red hens. The pullets remain in their mother's clans. In year 3, continue the spiral in the same direction. Red males move to blue hens, green males move to red hens, and blue males move to green hens. By year 4, the first full cycle is complete. Red males again move to green hens, green males to blue hens, and blue males to red hens, using newly selected cockerels rather than reusing their fathers. Replacing breeding males each year greatly reduces direct father-to-daughter mating, but the system only works when identification and records are accurate. A simple notebook should show the year, clan, sire, hatch results, defects, growth rates, and each male's movement. The most important secret is that selection must occur within each clan. Even if Clan A produces an extraordinary cockerel and Clan B produces only an average one, do not let the Clan A male dominate every pen. That would destroy the genetic separation the system is designed to protect. Select the best acceptable male from each clan. He must meet minimum standards for health, fertility, structure, temperament, and breed type. Do not preserve a weak family merely because you need a replacement. If one clan repeatedly produces low vigor or serious defects, investigate it and rebuild it carefully. The strength of spiral mating comes from structure, discipline, and consistency. When those 3 elements are maintained, a small farm can preserve its lines while protecting long-term flock health. Part 8. The Foundation of Vigor. Generational Nutrition and Incubation Precision. Good genetics create potential, but genetics alone cannot produce strong chicks. A bird may inherit excellent growth, fertility, and immunity, yet still begin life weak if the breeder hen is poorly nourished or the embryo develops under unstable conditions. The egg is the physical bridge between the hen and the chick. Egg size, yolk quality, shell strength, and nutrient content all influence development. A day-old chick commonly weighs about 62 to 78% of the egg's original weight, depending on breed, storage, and moisture loss. This is why strong chicks must be built before the eggs enter the incubator. Breeding birds need a complete ration that supports maintenance, fertility, egg formation, shell quality, and embryo development. Zinc, manganese, and copper support bone formation, shell structure, enzyme activity, and antioxidant defense. They should be combined with adequate vitamin D, natural carotenoids, protein, energy, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals. Together, these nutrients help the hen place inside the egg the materials needed to build organs, muscle, bone, membranes, and energy reserves. In simple terms, you are charging the chick's biological battery before hatch. The second step is controlling the incubation environment. Bird embryos cannot regulate their own temperature, so development depends heavily on conditions inside the machine. From day 1 through day 17, a forced air incubator is commonly held near 37.5 to 38 degrees Celsius, or 99.5 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep the temperature stable and verify it with a reliable thermometer. Prolonged overheating can cause premature hatch, weak chicks, poor navel closure, and incomplete yolk absorption. Low temperature slows development, delays hatch, and reduces chick quality. Brief fluctuations may not ruin a hatch, but repeated errors can cause serious losses. Relative humidity is often kept around 50 to 55%. The goal is controlled moisture loss, usually about 11 to 14% of the egg's original weight by transfer. This creates an air cell large enough for the chick to breathe before pipping. On day 18, lockdown begins. Stop turning the eggs. Depending on the incubator, the temperature may remain near the normal setting or be lowered slightly to manage heat from developed embryos. Raise humidity to about 65 to 75%. This keeps the shell membranes flexible and reduces the risk of chicks becoming trapped after pipping. Avoid opening the incubator repeatedly because sudden humidity loss makes hatching harder. Egg handling before incubation is equally important. Collect eggs frequently, keep them clean and dry, and avoid aggressive washing that damages the protective cuticle. Cool them gradually and store them below the temperature at which development continues. For short-term storage, many keepers use about 15 to 18 degrees Celsius. Keep the large end elevated, turn eggs daily, if held for several days, and set the freshest suitable eggs. Strong chicks come from sound genetics, healthy breeders, balanced nutrition, careful egg handling, precise incubation, and consistent records. The harmony of the farmyard and the lessons of life. My friends, when we look across a working homestead, we understand that animal husbandry is far more than carrying feed, cleaning pens, collecting eggs, checking brooders, or recording hatch percentages. It is a living partnership between the keeper, the animals, the land, and the natural systems that sustain them. When we close a breeding flock too tightly and select mainly for appearance, we may weaken the qualities that make the birds truly valuable. A chicken can have beautiful feathering and an impressive body shape, yet still lose fertility, hatchability, growth, immunity, and reproductive stability. True quality is measured by whether birds can hatch strongly, grow efficiently, resist ordinary stress, reproduce consistently, and pass those abilities to the next generation. Nature depends on balance and diversity. When a flock produces smaller chicks, weaker hatches, unstable laying patterns, or rising early mortality, those changes are not simply bad luck. They are warnings that the breeding system, breeder nutrition, incubation management, or all three need attention. By introducing an unrelated rooster through a controlled reproductive test, we can restore vigor without throwing away years of selection. By organizing the flock into clans and rotating breeding males in a disciplined spiral, we can reduce close pairings and preserve useful maternal families. By feeding breeder birds a complete ration, we support the embryo before development begins. By controlling egg storage, temperature, humidity, ventilation, and turning, we give every healthy embryo the best chance to become a vigorous chick. These practices do more than improve hatch percentages. They rebuild a flock that can function as a dependable part of a sustainable farm. A strong chicken converts feed into growth, eggs, offspring, manure, pest control, and useful activity around the homestead. A healthy flock requires less emergency care and gives the keeper more time to improve the farm. So take an honest look at your breeding pens. Are your chicks smaller than those raised several generations ago? Are fully formed embryos dying near hatch, even when the incubator appears stable? Are your pullets laying well 1 week and falling sharply the next? Are you spending more time giving special care to chicks during their first 14 days? If several signs appear together, do not ignore them. Review your records, compare generations, check breeder nutrition, calibrate the incubator, study the relationships between your breeding birds. The sooner you identify the source, the more of your flock you can protect. Tell me in the comments which strategy would make the greatest difference on your farm. Introducing a tested rooster, creating a 3-clan rotation, improving breeder nutrition, or tightening incubation management. If this information helped you, subscribe to Farmyard Care, give the video a like, and share it with another breeder facing the same decline. Thank you for watching, and thank you for caring for the land, the animals, and the life that sustains your farm. Until next time, keep your pastures green, your incubators steady, and every new generation stronger than the one before it.